less than 1 month to go now until Pokemon X and Y hit stores on October 12th. Nintendo has been giving us information left, right and centre, bombarding us with new information and teasing us with information about Pokemon X and Y. Now we've put a couple of videos up on the channel over the past couple of weeks which just get outdated on a daily basis. As each video goes up, a new announcement comes from Nintendo, just outdating that old video. Now Nintendo has bombarded us with information about new Pokemon types, trading card game information, anime information. But after each big Nintendo announcement or each big Coro leak, you go on YouTube, you watch the big guys, you watch the big channels doing their sort of rundown of the videos, and they all finish the videos off with, it's the last information we're going to get until the game hits stores. But then what happens? The next day, 2 days later, Nintendo does it again, hits us with more information. Now, I think Nintendo's going to continue to drip feed us information up until the release of X and Y, but they're still going to leave a lot of secrets and a lot for us to discover ourselves in the game come October 12th. This video is just going to be a rundown of some of the features I'm looking forward to most in X and Y, and some of the features that I think is going to change the game in small, insignificant ways. So be sure to let me know what feature you're looking forward to most in the comments below. Now if you do that, and if you like the video and subscribe, you'll also get entered into a free Pokemon trading card game online code giveaway. Is the new favourite feature for you the return of Gen 1 starters, Bulbasaur, Charmander and Squirtle? Is it Mega Evolution? Is it new characters in the game? Is it new story direction? Whatever it is, let me know down below guys. So let's jump straight into the video. The most obvious thing at first glance in Pokemon X and Y is the 3D battle system and the 3D graphics. While some of the DS titles did flirt with the use of 3D rendered structures, such as in Pokemon Black and White 2, Pokemon X and Y takes this to a whole new level and answers fans' demands that we've wanted now for years. The battle system now looks a lot more like Pokemon Stadium, and hey, it's only taken 13 years for Game Freak and Nintendo to implement this 3D style of battle system into a core Pokemon series game. Unlike Pokemon Stadium, which was just cartoony N64 graphics, and the subsequent games in that series that followed, such as on the GameCube and on the Wii, the battle system in Pokemon X and Y uses a 3D graphics engine that's cel shaded, so it resembles the anime somewhat a little bit more. Gone are the good, the bad, and ugly sprites of old, in favour of 3D rendered Pokemon monsters we can take anywhere. So by now we all know about Mega Evolutions. This was one of the first things that was teased to us and one of the first pieces of information that Nintendo announced, and this was in the form of the Pokemon Y Mega Evolution Mewtwo form. Later we found out there's also going to be a Pokemon X Mega Mewtwo form. So the way that Mega Evolution works is Pokemon holds a Mega Stone, Pokemon evolves, Pokemon becomes a badass. And for Pokemon that are already badasses, what do they become? Super badasses. Now Mega Evolutions are cool for a number of reasons. It adds new and exciting design and graphical elements to each Pokemon that we've grown up with from Gen 1 all the way up until Gen 5. It's been confirmed that Gen 6 Pokemon will not receive Mega Evolutions, and I'm fine with this. Why? Because it gives us the chance to see Pokemon from the older generations in an even more powerful form, whereas the Pokemon in Generation 6 we're just seeing, so we don't need to see them taken to another level. Also, it adds new strategic elements to the gameplay, while Mega Evolutions at face value seem to be Pokemon on steroids. So many of you out there might be thinking, well, why wouldn't you want to Mega Evolve your Pokemon any chance you get? Well, certain Pokemon actually gain a new type when they Mega Evolve, and while this can be beneficial in some scenarios, in others it could leave you vulnerable and actually make your Pokemon open to attack and make them weaker. Also, only one Pokemon from your team can Mega Evolve in battle, so that leaves you with the decision of which Pokemon do you want to evolve in the battle. Lastly, Mega Evolutions require your Pokemon to be holding a Mega Stone, which obviously limits you and prevents you from giving that Pokemon another item to hold. So whilst on face value, Mega Evolutions do seem to be the ultimate in badassery, for competitive play, trainers now have to factor in what Pokemon they should Mega Evolve, how far through the battle this should be done, and this is all going to add interesting elements to the competitive gameplay scene, something I've personally never got involved in, but something I'm interested in doing so in Generation 6. Bicycle was the first OMG item we got in Generation 1 that made things speed up a hell of a lot. Then running shoes were introduced to the game, with each subsequent title, running shoes and the bicycle were in the game. In Black and White 2, we got the running shoes quite early on, but still had to endure that quicksand-like manoeuvring for the initial moments of gameplay. Imagine if in real life you needed a special pair of shoes to run, you couldn't just get up off your ass and start running down the street. Midnight, you're walking home, and you see a robber, a burglar, coming up to you, shouting, "Give me your bag, give me your money." What do? Well, of course, this is Pokemon, so you can't run, you don't have the running shoes yet. You have to just have a nice brisk walk away from him, or the robber comes up, mugs you, and leaves you there like a sack of potatoes. That's no longer a feat in Pokemon X and Y, however, as we can run from the offset. Now, let's see how many times we fall over on the roller skates we get later in the game. Remember when Pokemon first hit the original Game Boy and we fell in love with those 8-bit cries, those little charms with beeps and bops? Then as hardware advanced, 12 years on, these Pokemon still sounded like R2-D2? Well, no more, because Pokemon cries have been updated, and Pikachu even says the infamous. Whilst this isn't going to be a major game changer, it definitely is going to be useful and is a good addition that Game Freak has added into the game. In the early stages of Pokemon, when any new type of Pokemon pops up, whether it's a Caterpie, a Bidoof, a Rattata, you know what you want to do. You don't want to knock them out, you want to catch them, put them on your Pokebelt, put them in your box. Then you run into that same Pokemon, the next wild battle, and it's 2 levels higher. What do? You want to catch that one to replace the low leveled one. What does this mean? These battles, the times that you spend catching these Pokemon, you're not getting experience for. You come at the first gym, you might be slightly underleveled. Well, now even when we catch Pokemon, we get experience for it. Whilst this won't speed up leveling way too much, and especially later on in the game, it won't really have much of an impact. It is a nice addition, especially for the early stages and the early moments of the game. As my favourite Double J combination once said, prepare for trouble, make it double. Because in Pokemon X and Y, we're now getting 2 starter Pokemon. Generation 6, and my personal favourite starter Pokemon, Generation 1. But before we get into the fact that we're getting 2 starter Pokemon, I want to quickly mention that starter Pokemon now actually have an elemental move when we start the game. So Froakie will have a water move, Fennekin a fire move, Chespin will have a grass move. Pretty awesome, right? However, I'm wondering how hard this will make our initial rival fight, because if we pick, say, Froakie, Chespin could launch a grass attack at us, and Boosh could one-hit KO us. So it's going to be interesting to see how the first battle takes place, and if we actually have a rival fight, or if we just get our Pokemon and head off into the wild. But onto the fact that we're getting 2 starter Pokemon. Having starters from previous generations is nothing new to the Pokemon franchise, but I'm getting the feeling that Generation 1 starters will be given to us very early on in the game, in traditional Pokemon Professor fashion. Whereas our Generation 6 starter Pokemon will be given to us by our friends in a cafe to start the story off. When we meet Professor Sycamore a little bit later in the game, he'll give us the choice of Bulbasaur, Charmander or Squirtle. Now, speaking of professors, probably the biggest shake-up to the story ever in Pokemon is at the start of Pokemon X and Y, there are going to be no professor giving us our Pokemon. That's right, the tried and tested adventures of a 10-year-old starting out by visiting the local professor and sent off on a crazy adventure with no schooling, no supervision has come to an end. Instead this time, in X and Y, the game's going to start off with a bunch of kids hanging out in a cafe, then going off on the crazy adventure, and with nothing but a bunch of Pokeballs. In terms of starting the game story, this has got to be the biggest mix-up for the franchise so far. I'm interested to see how this will sort of develop into the game. The theme of X and Y is bonds, so it's going to be interesting to see how far through the game your friends will follow you, how often they'll meet back up with you, and what role the professor will play in Pokemon X and Y. Something we've all wanted for years now is the ability to customise our trainer and our character in the game. Game Freak is finally giving us this, and including it in a somewhat fashion-esque minigame that totally won't destroy macho status for us guys out there. Legit though, the ability to customise our trainer's appearance and clothing is pretty awesome, especially for taking our characters online, battling online, trading online. It allows us as a player to add our own unique spin, our own unique touch on our character. It's not just trainers, however, that will be getting the beauty treatment. Pokemon like Fairfu will change appearance depending upon what haircut is made. Pretty awesome, right? It's not just haircuts that will change Pokemon appearance, however, but certain Pokemon will have male and female looks, along with unique movesets such as Pyro and Meowstick. Now this isn't necessarily new to the Pokemon franchise. You had Nidoran male and Nidoran female in Gen 1, but the technology then required it to be 2 separate Pokemon. Now a Pyro will simply be captured as a Pyro, and if it's male it will look like one way, and if it's female it'll have a different type of appearance. Biggest Pokedex ever. So with each new generation of Pokemon, we see a slew of new Pokemon introduced to the Poké world. Some hot, some not. X and Y promises the largest roster ever, and whilst the exact number of Pokemon remains to be seen unknown, we can expect to see a lot of new Pokemon and a lot of Pokemon from Gen 1 to 5. The first hour of gameplay is reportedly a throwback to Viridian Forest, allowing us to catch Caterpies, Pidgeys, and even Pikachu. And this is just at the start of the game. As a guy who grew up on Gen 1, it's great to see that even with all the new additions from Generation 2 to 5, and obviously Generation 6, the new Mega Pokemon that's been announced for Pokemon X and Y, it's great to see that Nintendo and Game Freak haven't sort of forgotten about the older players, haven't forgotten Generation 1, and allow us older players to, you know, sort of still reconnect with our familiar Generation 1 Pokemon. And with this many Pokemon in the game, we're going to need more than just the regular in-game PC to store them, which leads us to Pokemon Bank. Man, do I wish this was available 13 years ago. I'd have loved nothing more than to bring the Charizard, Alakazam, Mewtwo, Zapdos, Dragonite that I used in Generation 1 on Pokemon Red, bringing it all the way up until current day in X and Y. Better late than never, however, and Pokemon Bank sounds awesome. The ability to store Pokemon in the cloud and then transfer them to future generations is just damn right awesome. Nintendo is even going to be giving us a free month of Pokemon Bank, and while no official price has been announced, Kotaku did announce that the service would be launching on Christmas Day in Japan and would cost around 500 yen a month. There's no official word being made regarding Europe or North America release, however, or pricing. This video, guys, has literally just scratched the surface of what's new in Pokemon X and Y. There's a ton of information that I haven't included here, like story elements about the theme of bonding, team flair, super training and core training, mini games and changes to Pokemon chart types, and even new Pokemon types like Fairy. There's less than a month to go now until X and Y hit stores worldwide, and while everyone seems to think after each big announcement that's it, Nintendo isn't going to be giving us any more info, they hit us with something else even bigger. Expect more announcements and news to be drip fed to us over the coming month, but also expect a lot to remain a mystery for us to find out ourselves in the game when Pokemon X and Y launches on the 12th of October worldwide. So, out of all the new features in Pokemon X and Y, which are you most looking forward to? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you want to win that Pokemon trading card game online code, be sure to also like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's it for me today, guys. Be sure to go check out some of my other videos, and I look forward to seeing you all back in the next video. Thanks for watching.